You may recall a couple of months ago, we talked about a story out of Pennsylvania. The Pittsburgh Tribune Review wrote an article about a Second Amendment rally that is held in Harrisburg every year, organized by State Representative Daryl Metcalf. And this Second Amendment rally was mentioned in an April bulletin to Pennsylvania Homeland Security officials by this group called the Institute of Terrorism Research and Response. This was a nonprofit company that had a contract with the state of Pennsylvania, a $103,000 contract to monitor potential terror-related acts in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, at the time, State Senator Daryl Metcalf wanted to know, State Representative Daryl Metcalf wanted to know why the heck the Second Amendment rally and attendees were included in this bulletin to law enforcement around the state. Quote, Pennsylvania militia groups apparently are planning on attending. Law enforcement might have to provide crowd control. And at the time that this came out in September, a lot of eyebrows were raised. Now, the Patriot News in Pennsylvania has done a couple of follow-ups on this Office of Homeland Security Intelligence Surveillance Program. It turns out, according to the Patriot News, that the Homeland Security Office and its private consultant doing more than just monitoring law-abiding citizens. They were comparing environmental activists to Al-Qaeda, tracking down protesters, grilling their parents. They were seeking a network, this is my favorite, of citizen spies to combat these security threats they saw in virtually any legal political activity. And they were not just disseminating their information to the Pennsylvania Department of Homeland Security. They were giving their bulletins to dozens of private businesses, from natural gas drillers to the Hershey Company. Now, imagine you're a Pennsylvanian, you're a gun owner, you are clinging bitterly to your guns and religion. You go to attend the Second Amendment rally, and a few months later, you apply for a job, and the HR guy says, we're just not really sure you will fit in here. Could you please leave now? And you're wondering what's going on. Well, maybe they've been told that you're somebody that needs to have surveillance. You need to have the state keep an eye on you. You're not to be trusted. This is actually happening to some people. This is how weird this program got. According to internal Homeland Security emails that were produced through a right-to-know request, one of the targets of surveillance was the Berks Peace Community. This is a 50-year-old group of Quaker-affiliated senior citizens. They're elderly Quakers, and they had to be monitored. They gather on the Penn Street Bridge in Reading every Friday and quietly hold signs questioning America's quote-unquote war habit. Mark Perlman, who is the co-founder of the Institute for Terrorism Research and Response, sent out an email indicating that this group had to be monitored. Also, the tweets of law-abiding citizens was, quote, part of the intelligence effort that is conducted daily on behalf of the Pennsylvania Office of Homeland Security, because as we all know, terrorists use Twitter like all the time. Oh, brother. Maria Finn, spokesman for the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, which oversees Homeland Security, says, quote, law enforcement monitored Twitter accounts during the G20 to get certain types of information because it is public access. It's not private information. That's fine. A couple of email releases. June 3rd of this year, the former Homeland Security Director emailed the Institute for Terrorism Research and Response and emailed one of their alerts to the Reading chief of police for a protest plan on the Penn Street Bridge the following day. The Homeland Security Director's email to the Reading chief of police was a person-to-person alert of planned activity. This wasn't just like part of the normal bulletin. The police chief said it was the first and only email like that I got. He said he emailed the director to ask for more information, and he said, we regularly have anti-war demonstrations on the Penn Street Bridge holding signs and getting motorists beeping their horns, but they haven't caused a problem. They haven't attempted to block the street or traffic in any way. He said, my concern was this something different? The head of ITRR contacted the chief via email and said, well, we can provide you a briefing on this. The briefing it'll be a bunch of elderly Quakers. Keep an eye on them. He said, because, as promised, we will monitor Twitter for any tactical information that can be identified before, during, and immediately after the 5 p.m. demonstration. Because that monitoring activity will be a part of the intelligence effort that is conducted daily by our organization on behalf of the Pennsylvania Office of Homeland Security, there is no charge to the Reading Police Department. We will monitor Twitter for you for free. Great. The police chief went ahead and did some old-fashioned police work and actually called the people who were planning the protest. And he wrote back to the Pennsylvania Department of Homeland Security, said there's a local woman, Dorothy Riley, who's a bit more radical than the local group. She's the one who got the demonstration posted on Answer. We can expect 20 to 40 people showing up on the bridge unless it's hot, and then less will show. They're demonstrating against the recent Israeli action involving the ship barricade. There were no tweets, by the way. No tweets. The individuals in question say they're too old for Twitter, but they get Facebook. The head of the ITRR writes back to the chief of police in Reading, Pennsylvania, after the Quakers protest and said, quote, we placed our best Twitter researcher on the task. And that's a quote. She was unable to locate any planned communications for the protest. That fact is significant. Our inability to locate a communications network indicates that probably none exists, which is like such bureaucraties. We put our best Twitter researcher on this. We didn't find any evidence of any networking, so we don't think that there is one out there. See, here's the problem with all this. I mean, this is clearly Big Brother overstepping its bounds. But you know, one of the topics that came up in Pennsylvania in the U.S. Senate race was this no-fly, no-buy bill. The Brady campaign has really been pushing this. I think it is likely that President Obama tries to move on gun control. This would be the issue that he would choose. It's so emotional. The facts are somewhat complicated. I mean, it takes longer than 10 seconds to explain. And the gun control advocates who are promoting this just say, do you really think that somebody who's on a terror watch list should be able to buy guns? And then you actually have to explain to people, well, just because somebody's name is on a terror watch list doesn't mean that they're actually suspected of being a terrorist. They may not even be suspected of a crime, not even jaywalking, but they're still on the list because perhaps they went to school with somebody who is a person of interest. Perhaps they live near somebody, or they work with somebody, or they show up at Starbucks, 2 or 3 times a week at the same time as somebody. Or perhaps a Billy Bob bureaucrat in Pennsylvania decided that everybody who showed up for the Second Amendment rally in Harrisburg needs to have an eye kept on them. See, this is the problem. We don't simply take away constitutional rights because some paper pusher, overly aggressive paper pusher, who sees no difference between a Quaker and an Al-Qaeda suicide bomber, decides just to err on the side of caution to throw, law enforcement alerts out there every day, every time somebody holds up a sign somewhere. And if you hold up a sign somewhere, I don't think, frankly, that you should lose your constitutional right to keep and bear arms because you held up a sign. So, no, I don't think that people should lose their constitutional rights based on their being on a bureaucratic list. And if you're going to start saying, well, we need to take away their rights, what other rights should we be taking away? If you don't think this person has the right to keep and bear arms, if, as Rahm Emanuel said, if you're on the no-fly list, you're not a part of the American family, should you vote? How could you vote if you're not a part of the American family? So if you're on the no-fly list, certainly you should lose the right to vote, right, if you're going to lose your right to keep and bear arms. You should probably lose the right to run for office. I don't think you should be able to sit in Congress if you're on the no-fly list. If Rahm Emanuel says you're not a part of the American family, how on earth could you serve as a representative in Congress? So, Representative John Lewis, you're out of here, buddy. Not a part of the American family. You're on the no-fly list. He may have gotten off by now. It's a horrible bill. It is a horrible intrusion on the idea that we have rights that cannot be stripped from us for no reason whatsoever. And this story out of Pennsylvania, again, shows just how easy it is to be a perfectly law-abiding American, one who is politically active, politically engaged, and yet because some overzealous contractor thinks that your name should be on a law enforcement bulletin, your life can very quickly take a turn for the worse. I don't think that we should lose our rights, again, because Billy Bob Bureaucrat thinks our name needs to be on a list. Now, it is 52 after the hour here on Cam and Company. One of the Quakers in question, by the way, John Hoskins Abrahal, who is the 65-year-old spokesman for the Berks Peace Community, said of the scrutiny from the Institute for Terrorism Response and Research, he said, quote, if that's the best they can do, that is truly pathetic, more than pathetic. It's downright un-American, might I say. It represents exactly the worst things we want to put behind us. Well, we will keep our eye on this story out of Pennsylvania, and just remember. Yeah, the other thing that we got to get to tomorrow night is this idea of the citizen network of spies. I mean, this to me, this goes, it's shades of Woodrow Wilson. And what was it? Was it the All-American League, the Committee of on Public Information, where you had the 4-minute men back during World War I who memorized this 4-minute speech and would go around and then give their speech and then monitor their neighbors and report in about any suspicious activity that their neighbors or coworkers might be undertaking. That's what they wanted to set up in Pennsylvania. The same sort of system where, you just keep an eye on your fellow Pennsylvanians. I think I've got yeah. Here's an email here. We should be able to outreach to the various sectors, bring them in for coffee and donuts, and present them with a presentation that explains their role in the intel cycle. We'd give them a business card with a number to call, an email to send for anything that's not an emergency, and meets the shopping list of suspicious indicators and warning signs that we submitted to them. Spy on your neighbors, but hey, you get free coffee and donuts. Who could resist an offer like that?